Good morning. We're back. We are into week 6 of this diet reset kind of period. Today is Tuesday, the 7th of October. I have just got back from cardio this morning, and the whole mobility midsection routine that I do, which is something I think I'm probably going to do a separate video on, because I'm asked quite regularly what it is that I do. I do it year round, but at least daily, year round, as much as possible. But it's something that when I'm dieting, it just is even more watertight. With a few additional bits. The routine will always be there, but it might look a little bit different depending on whether in the off season or whether we're dieting or whatever. But like I said, we're back. I'm going to go through today, full day of eating, training day. We haven't made any changes to nutrition since. So no changes to diet setup since week 1. So those initial changes to the diet have remained the same for the past 6 weeks, just because we've been seeing a response alone off of the adjustments that we're making elsewhere, which is good. I do feel as though a little bit of a tweak to input towards energy balance there is probably due, but I thought we'll go through a full day of eating. So before I have meal 1, I won't have meal 1 for another hour and a half realistically. So I'm fasted in the morning for a good period of time, from at the moment 4:30 until about 8:30, there or thereabouts. But we'll get the morning concoction underway. All I've had this morning is about 800 ml of water and a small black coffee that I have before cardio. And then I come home and I have the concoction. I'll just fill it up as much as I can. That's 700 ml of water. Then, of course, the engineered essentials. So I do 15 grams of glutamine in the morning for digestion. Just environment of the GI. So I'll actually do 2 servings a day. I do 15 grams in the morning, and then I'll do 10 grams with my pre-workout also. Then I'll do 10 grams of creatine. Again, engineered, of course. And I do 20 grams of creatine total a day. So I'll split this second serve with my pre-workout also. And then into this will go a serving of Catalyst, which is one of our hydration electrolyte panels. The flavours are banging, very, very good. This is what we use to flavour our engineered products, because obviously there's no flavour profiles in them. But the flavours on these are very good. We have got, I'm going to give a little bit of an insight. We've got a good few number of flavours coming out, which is cool, because the flavours that we've got already are very, very good. This is the Blue Raz, which me and Beth are loving at the minute. But before that, I was a cherry coconut man. But a really good electrolyte product and super cheap. It's like £23 for 60 servings, which is brilliant. Now, in terms of like supplementation this morning, I'm not going into the super sups, the PD side of things, but all I've had this morning prior to cardio was some oral BPC, some turbo BPC. Again, just for gut health, something that I keep in year round. I notice a massive positive with it. So yeah, we'll go through a full day of eating today. It's nothing elaborate. I'm going to try and give some insight along the way, how to make things a little bit more sustainable, enjoyable. But I've just found over the years of doing this what works for me. My approach is very simple. I don't have a huge amount of variety. I have enough variety to the point where it's enjoyable for me and I like what I do, but not enough to the point where it's just overwhelming. I think that's something. I think you can be polar ends. You can not put enough time and enough thought into your nutrition, how you're preparing meals, which makes it super hard to maintain over a period of time, remaining consistent. And then I also think the opposite end of the spectrum, you see a lot of people spending like 15, 20 minutes preparing one meal as if it's like some gourmet Michelin star experience. And it's like, in my experience anyway, that just leads itself or opens the door to poorer relationships with food. Once you then are in the extremities of a diet phase and your ability to make foods, with using the bits and bobs, the added fats here and there, the condiments, whatever it may be, when things become pretty scarce, it can be a bit of a minefield for people to navigate. So that's not saying don't enjoy your food, but it's saying you don't need to make it absolutely like groundbreaking every single time. All of my food's cooked in the air fryer today, which you'll see. So anyway, we'll get to it and we'll see you back for meal one. Okay, so meal one. We're ready to roll. Now, I need... So at the start of the day, I'll usually do this earlier in fairness. I just weigh out my salt for the day, just because I keep it controlled, keep it accurate. Some people like to do X amount of grinds per meal. Some people just like to use the clicker. I've done this for the longest of times. My Engineer clickers actually broke. These dispensers are really good, 0.5 5 gram per click. You can put whatever you like in here, to be honest, but mine's broke. So just so happens I've obviously got micro scales, which are good for a few things, but weighing out my salt like this is, because if you're using your normal kitchen scales, unless you've got the super precise ones, they're not gonna pick them up, they're not gonna measure them. But like I said, the most important thing with your salt is just keeping it consistent, whether that is grinds, whether that is clicks. So for me, year round, every single day, if I'm obviously not on holiday, I do 10 grams of pink Himalayan salt, and then I add 5 grams of low salt to that. So a little bit of a bump in potassium here. So pink salt for sodium mainly, and then my low salt for some potassium. And then that just gets distributed across my meals for the course of the day. But then I haven't got to faff about. If I'm prepping, I just distribute it across my meals there and then, but we're ready to roll. So meal one is protein and fats only. So I'll start with the veg in this meal. So I have 50 grams of spinach. I don't wilt it down or anything. If I was in prep and pretty close proximity to show, I would probably wilt the spinach. But spinach I have in year round. So 50 grams of spinach in there. And then I have 100 grams of salmon, so salmon fillet, which is just an air fryer jobby for me. Some nice protein source, a nice amount of fat in there as well. And then I've also got in here 60 grams of chicken, which I'll just pop in like that. So salmon and chicken for meal one. And then into this meal, I also put 20 grams of kimchi for a little bit of GI support. just goes on the meal. I love how kimchi's just become oh so popular at the moment, or in recent times anyway. You gotta love it. And then, like I said, I'll just distribute some of my salt for the day over this. This will be my first bit of sodium for the day as well. Well, I've had a little bit of catalyst, so some sodium, potassium there. That stuff as well, like obviously my electrolytes, they're just consistent, as in my electrolyte supplements, my hydration supplements. So I'm not tracking that specifically. Obviously, if I was in prep, then those things are a little bit more closely managed. But I keep it consistent. Like I said, that's the main thing. And then a little bit of a drizzle of our saviour, 50% less sugar and salt. I've not tried, there's a new one out. I haven't tried the new one. I'm not sure what the difference is, but anyway. So meal one there, good to go. And I'll also get my morning supplements ready. I use this drill bit or tool organizer just to manage my subs. So I've not got 101 different pots, which I still have, much to Beth's annoyance. Some turmeric in there. I've already had my oral BPC, some NAC, and some magnesium. So I've got engineered muscle cardiac, so cardiac support. Got some hepatic, so liver support there as well. I've got some NAC, which is a fantastic antioxidant. Got some turmeric, so great anti-inflammatory, and some magnesium. And this needs to be a patented design. If I had the means, or I knew someone who worked for Temu, who could put something together for me, I'd be laughing. But I've got ideas of how good that could be. But meal one, so about 40 grams of protein, 13 grams of fat, and then trace carb, about 3 gram of carb, give or take, and then some salt and some reduced sugar and salt red sauce. My chicken's always the same. I use oregano, like an Italian herb type blend, and then a little bit of ground sweet cinnamon. Very, very good. But that is us ready to roll. Meal one, carbs are scarce. So we've got a nice amount of fat in this meal. This is my highest fat meal of the day. Usually this meal would have some carbs in, but if we wasn't dieting, then it would have carbs in. But for now, they've been purged. So we'll get this down and we'll be back for meal two. Okay, people, we're in for meal two. So I usually like to have, on an ideal day, anywhere like 2 to 3 meals is kind of where I like to train. Today I actually have quads. This session I actually like training with 3 meals in, but usual for me, other than this quad session, is 2 meals. That's purely just because I feel better heading into that session. It's probably my longest session of the week as well, and the most taxing, the most demanding. So that's what we do. This meal we have 180 grams of chicken breast. Again, all just an air fryer jobby. The oregano, Italian herbs, a little bit of ground sweet cinnamon on top in the air fryer, max crisp, done for the day. I've got 65 grams of white basmati rice. Now, shock. The majority of my carbs are rice-based. Doesn't work for everyone. 3 of my meals today are rice-based. 3 are rice-based. 3 are rice-based. 1's carb-free, and 2 are potato. That's as simple as my food is. purely for digestion. It sits fantastic. I love rice. I always toy between what my go-to carb source would be. If sourdough was out of the question, would I have potatoes? Would I have rice? I wouldn't have pasta. It wouldn't be sustainable. I'm thinking potatoes. The versatility that you can. I like mash. Even when I normally, if I have mash in my meals, it will just be plain potato mashed up, because at the minute we're dieting, we don't have added fats or anything like that, so no ghee going into those potatoes, but so potatoes would be the go-to. And then I've got 100 gram of peppers with one of Ben's hairs, and then just a distribution of my salt. Distribution, that was a fancy word. And then just a little sprinkling of salt. That's as simple as it is. I always try to get across to people that it isn't difficult. It's as complex as you make it. As I said earlier, I think people are either looking for an abundance of variety and don't like the idea of eating consistently. For me, this is the best way. Listen, when I do something, whether I'm in a diet phase or whether I am in like off-season improvement, I want to know what I'm doing. I want it consistent. I want to know that I can digest it well. I want to know accurately what is in every food source that I have. What is in everything that I have. I can control the variables so easy. So when it comes to a touch point during the week, a check-in, we can go, right, do we need anything more? Do we need anything less? Right, we need a little bit less this week. Let's just pull out a little bit of carb from here. Rather than every day just being completely different or a lot of discrepancy throughout the course of the week. My training day and my non-training day, my meals look similar. They're not the same. My macros are different, but the basis of the meals are identical. It's chicken, rice, beef, potato, beef, rice, whey, rice, like as simple as that. Things look a little bit different when needs are higher, when we are needing more of a surplus of energy and you have a few more food sources going in. But right now, this is it. This is us ready to roll. So off the top of my head, we've got about 50 grams of protein. I think about 56 gram of carb in this meal. So yeah, about 50 gram of protein, and then trace fat. Sorry, fats are scarce. My next fats will be in my next meal, my pre-workout meal, which we'll come on to. So we're locked and loaded. The chicken pepper bonanza. I don't fry these or anything like that. One, saves me time. Sometimes I'll prep a majority of veg at some point during the week and it will all just go in the air fryer. For the moment, I'm liking my peppers with a little bit of bite. So that's us. Meal number 2. Okay, people, we're back for meal 3, which is also our pre-workout meal. Again, I'm super simple when it comes to my food. The main thing for me is the fact that it digests well, and I can go in and I can feel comfortable whilst I'm training. I want a good amount of energy. I want to feel relatively full, as full as we can, given the context at the moment, but want a good amount of energy going in. So this is, along with my post-workout, are going to be my 2 higher carb meals, or highest carbohydrate meals, as they usually are. So I've got 110 grams of white basmati rice. I've got 180 grams of chicken breast, which is all raw weight. Now this is where it's going to get potentially a little bit strange for people. One of my fat sources at the moment is some 90% dark chocolate. Now, I could change this fat source out entirely, and I could have some coconut oil in this meal, some almond butter if I wanted to, but I like dark chocolate, and I also like putting it in the meal. I know it sounds really, really weird, really fucking weird, but it's one of those bodybuilding combos that shouldn't work but do work. I don't know why it shouldn't work, because the sweet and the savoury combo is nice. But chicken and chocolate, who knew? But it's a goer. So 10 grams of 90% dark chocolate for some fats in this meal. And then I also have some fructose, have some fruit in this meal, have 80 grams worth of banana, which we need another banana for. I did go through a phase back in my 2022 prep where about midway through, just as, you know, environment, digestion somewhat changes, just the environment of the gut changes. My stomach did not like bananas, which I was absolutely gutted about. So they were a scarce commodity in prep. But 80 grams of banana, so I've got some fructose in here as well. Put a nice bit of fruit in also. And like I said, I love the taste of banana. I know it seems like a very strange meal. Rice, chicken, cool. Banana, question marks, but it's becoming a popular one. And then I've got the chocolate in there as well, which, trust me, if you haven't, try it. Whilst the rice is still warm, mix that chocolatey rice, you can't go wrong. This isn't even a fact 'cause I'm dieting. It's something that I've been doing for the longest time as well. But yeah, chicken and cream of rice and the rest of it. Tip, if you're using an air fryer, though it can be a bit of a ball ache to clean all the time, right? And I know they do the rubber baskets. All I do is pop some tin foil down. I pop some tin foil down as like a little bit of a improv basket, whether it's salmon, beef, chicken, and it goes in there once it's cooked. I take it out and it goes in the bin. Or if I've got to cook, say I've cooked some chicken in the morning, then later on in the evening I'm having my beef meal, I'll keep the tin foil in there, and then I haven't got to worry about it, just pull it out. In the bin it goes, and it's nice and easy. But this is us for this meal. No, it's not. Because I also have in this meal, right, this might be where it gets even stranger for people. But again, it works and I love it. I have some beetroot in here as well. The pre-workout beetroot, we're getting it in already. So I have about 50 grams of beetroot into this meal, which is perfect. So that's that into there. Then I'll just pop that on there. People are probably looking at this as if like, what are you eating? This is what you eat. This is what you eat. Again, my digestion's perfect with this. I have a good amount of energy going in to train. Food's not scarce at the moment. My appetite's high, but it has been for the past I think over 20 weeks now. 21 weeks almost since the end of prep. And my appetite has been high from the start. So this is us. We've got about 100 grams of carb, about 50 grams of protein, and about 7 grams of fat. Got some chicken breast, got some basmati rice, I've got banana, and I've got some 90% dark chocolate in there with some beetroot, my usual salt, and we're good to go. So that's us, meal free, pre-workout. We will be back for a pre-workout supplementation and intra-workout. It's in a bit. Pre-workout and what was going to be intra-workout. However, I realised yesterday I finished my carb tank. So I am out of intra carbs. So I'm just today going to leave them as nil. I'm not going to replace the carbs or anything like that. I've had a good amount of, I still have an abundance of carbohydrate in prior to training. Just one of those things. So I'll be okay without 20 gram of carb intra-workout for today only. Like I said, food throughout the course of the day is higher. Food, meaning food from yesterday, is high. I've got a decent amount of glycogen. We're okay. But the pre-workout concoction, so I do about 500 ml of fluid, of water. And today, seeing as it is just need to check where Beth has moved my subs to. Seeing as it is quads today, this looks slightly different to my baseline. So we will start with our 10 grams of creatine. Again, you can don't worry about being super precise in terms of timing with creatine. I think if you were going to put it anywhere, I would personally prefer it at the start of the day. I think there's quite a bit on the cognitive benefits to creatine at the start of the day, which I'm a big fan of. But as long as it's going in, it's the only thing that matters. And then I also do 10 grams of glutamine in my pre-workout also, which just stays ever consistent. And we have, so non-stim, pump based like crazy pre-workout, turbo pump, stage 2. So a lot of vasodilation, the expansion or the relaxation of blood vessels, allowing for blood flow. But move with caution is all I'm going to say. Sometimes I'll do half a serving pre-workout, half a serving intra-workout, but today I'm going with a full serving in my pre. And today, seeing as it is quads, and I've had a little bit of caffeine today, I've just had a black coffee, but I'm going to have a serving of Tank Mode, which is our stim-based pre-workout. So a full serving, 25 grams. Again, a real stacked panel. Like, I'm not a heavy stim user. I don't want to walk into the gym and start training with like this huge rush of energy, like a bit of a spastic. I want to feel calculated. I want to feel calm. I want to feel as though if I need to tap into some energy, I've got it there, if that makes sense. And the way in which this is delivered with the Infinergy and the caffeine in here is great. So almost like a bit of a euphoric type feeling, I'll find anyway. And I've just put a serving of Catalyst in there as well, pre-workout. Again, stacks perfectly with the Turbo Pump and the Tank Mode, just for a little bit of flavour, as both products are unflavoured. And I've also got in this pre-workout as well, which I forgot, some Methylene Blue. Actually been a huge fan of the Methylene Blue. Training days it will go in pre-workout, rest days I'll put it in upon wake fasted, pre-output, cardio, steps, whatever. But just from a cognition standpoint, and again, just a feel good type of effects. I've definitely noticed it. I did use Methylene Blue for a short period in prep. It was a real short period, but I pulled it out purely because, you know what it's like when you're in prep. You're doing a lot. There's a lot of supplementation in terms of routine, and at that point, I was almost like, I don't want to fuck about with anything. I just want to keep things consistent. If I haven't had it in, or I hadn't used it before, I'm not even going to entertain it. So I think I used it for like 2 days, nowhere near long enough to notice any real benefit for things. But then also the fact that because it's in prep, in that environment where things are just, how to explain it? It's a real sensitive environment. You're not going to feel or understand what these things are eliciting because of the extent of the deficit, because of the super low body fat. because everything else externally is pretty high stress, if that makes sense. So now in a bit more of a controlled environment, yes, although I'm dieting, yes, although I'm in a deficit, it's nowhere near as aggressive, I'm nowhere near as lean. My ability to feel and understand and almost interpret what these things are doing is improved tenfold, and I'm a big fan. So that's been in for about 2.5 weeks, and I like. So pre-workout, Turbo Pump 1 serve, Tank Mode 1 serve, Catalyst 1 serve, 10 grams of glutamine, 10 grams of creatine, and we're away to go. So we'll get this down. I've got a short commute to the gym as well. It's like a 5-minute drive. So we'll get there and we'll get cracking. But we'll be back for meal number 4, which will be our post-workout. So we'll see you there. Quads done. Brilliant session. Obviously today's just full day of eating, so no training clips. But meal number 4, post-workout time. I'm just going to run through what this meal is, and then we'll sit down and we'll have a bit of a run through as to like what I'd be looking at for a post-workout meal. So this for me, 110 grams of basmati rice again. It's the same as my pre-workout. The only difference with this meal is just there's no added fats in it. The macros other than that the same. So I've got 50 protein and about 105 gram of carb or something like that. So 110 grams of white basmati rice, and my protein source in this meal is, yes, water. It's not, obviously. I love the way I had to just confirm that it wasn't water, but it is some whey isolate. So I am currently I have been using for a long time now, the Mutant ISO Surge, which is one of the whey isolates that we stock on Engineered. If you know anything about your products, you know that Mutant is one of the best. I remember Mutant used to do it was one of the first proteins I ever bought, actually. It was an isolate, but it was their birthday cake flavour one. And it to this day, it sticks in my head because it was so good, but it's discontinued now. You can't get it. They don't even do it in Canada. But with that said, this is obviously one of the isolates we have on Engineered. This is the cookies and cream flavour, which is really good. I'm pretty sure we're pulling away from the Mutant ISO Surge, but it's been replaced with an equally, if not slightly better whey isolate, which is the Dymatize whey iso, which is fantastic. We've also got the Trained by JP and the ISO Pro on there. But isolate for me, I don't have any issues with blends or anything like that, but it comes down to a quality issue, a quality standpoint. And again, it just improved digestion. Do I notice a difference? Yeah, I do. I also really like the texture of whey isolates. You know that they're a little bit thinner in consistency. So if you're making, your whey to pour on, just how I do it, at least with a Mutant anyway, it might be different with some other whey isolates, is I just do 10 grams less water to what I have whey. So 50 grams of isolate and 40 grams of whey in there. I put the water in first so that the whey doesn't clump to the bottom, if you were wondering. And then I just mix this on here. This is my only kind of sweet-based meal, if you like, at the moment. Oh, we've got a little bit of spillage. We'll catch that. We can't be wasting macros around here. My only sweet-based meal, and it goes down perfectly post-workout. Appetite's extremely high. Again, rice, just because of digestion. You could have a number of different carbohydrate sources in here, but again, this is just what I like. So like I said, that goes on there. This will be getting the finger scoop off camera. I'm not that much of an animal. And then same in this meal. Some fruit again, some fructose. So I've got 80 grams of banana in this meal also. Wow, that is 79 grams, and I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take it. Oh, I'm dropping banana peel. I don't do anything fancy with banana. I see people kind of put it in the air fryer and make it into, I don't know, like banana chips or some kind of caramelized banana. I just chop it up. Sometimes I'll just eat it like this, or just eat it like a normal banana. But this goes in there. So this is the actual whole food portion of the meal. Wrapped up, and I've one of Benny's hairs in my mouth. Fantastic, thank you, son. And then we'll do a good amount of my salt in this meal. I usually finish my salt around about this meal. If I'm honest, so I have a majority of my salt in before I train. Then along with this, what's super important post-workout is just get some fluids back in. Should be relatively hydrated whilst we're training, but there's always going to be an element of dehydration. So some fluids topped up there. Would be a good time to have some electrolytes, but I'm pretty covered from an electrolyte standpoint for today. I just need some fluid. And then along with this post-workout, I'll also have a cap of Turbo Mag, which is our magnesium complex. So essential for recovery, restoring electrolyte balance along with that as well. So tab of Turbo Mag going in, magnesium complex. I know a lot of the guys like having quite frequent magnesium, but for me it's kind of upon wake, post-workout, or midday on a non-training day, and then pre-bed. Pre-bed I'll have 2 caps. So this is the post-workout meal. Like I said, about 50 gram of protein in here, 100 gram of carb, and trace fat, 0 fat, like 2 grams of fat. Cookies and cream, Mutant, Whey ISO, Billy 10, engineered. Go before they all sell out. I think these are the only flavors we've got left, but other than that, you've got your Diamatize, which is fantastic. You've got your Trained by JP, ISO Pro, which is fantastic, and I think we've got some Rule 1 wheys, which are fantastic. There are some really good whey products on the engineered site. So we'll get this done, simple. Okay, so post-workout meal is done. I thought I'd give just some vague parameters for post-workout nutrition. Just to know an overview. There's so much individuality that comes down to this. First of all, timing. I don't think eating immediately post-workout is ever a good idea. Even if you can, I think it's still sensible to give it a little bit of time. In all honesty, I'm not completely pressed what time I eat my post-workout meal, as long as it goes in. As long as it goes in. That could be sometimes close to an hour. It could be as short as 25 minutes. It really depends, but I wouldn't be wrapping up my session, sitting in the car immediately and inhaling my post-workout. I give time for things to settle a little bit more. So what's the most important parts of a post-workout meal? Well, we want to replenish glycogen, we want to replenish carbohydrates pretty quickly, and we want to get a good amount of protein in post-workout. Okay, so we're looking at protein, carbohydrates, and we also want to restore some electrolyte balance. We want to get some minerals back in because we would have depleted them throughout the session. So protein, carbohydrates, and some electrolytes. In terms of protein, I'd be looking at, my preference is a lean meat source, as opposed to something a little bit denser in fat. Again, preference there, but I don't want anything that's directly going to slow down digestion for the most part. I want food to get in, and I want it to get in relatively quick. Now, that's not always the case for everyone. So in terms of protein sources, it doesn't need to be whey isolate or whey protein. There's nothing magical about a whey. You can go any time of the day. It just lends itself quite nicely usually to post-workout, because people are typically going to have some form of rice-based post-workout in terms of carbohydrate source, so something like a cream of rice, something like a rice pudding, for example, or like I've just had just usual rice and you can put whey with it, or even a rice-based cereal, like a puff cereal type thing. So whey goes quite nicely, and post-workout, we usually, quite welcoming for something sweet as opposed to something savoury. You can also have chicken. You can have any lean protein source that you like. You can have fish, lean fish, white fish. You can have a chicken breast. You could have turkey mince. You could have any type of turkey for the most part. Some prawns in there, some egg whites. Again, there's a lot of options. In terms of numbers, anywhere between 30 to 50 grams of protein, dependent on size, dependent on goal, so on and so forth. There's, again, so much individuality with it. Then in terms of carbohydrates, just as random numbers, could be anywhere between 40 grams up to 120 grams plus. All right, and there could even be some variance within that 40 grams as well, dependent on where you are. You might be dieting, you might be in prep, calories might be scarce. But in terms of carbohydrate source, usually going to lend themselves quite well to the rice-based stuff, just because the ease of digestion. And we want to replenish carbohydrate, we want to replenish glycogen pretty rapidly, right? So your rices, basmati rice, jasmine rice, all of the rices, cream of rice, rice pudding, people like rice cakes as well, sometimes post-workout. A lot of variety there, like I said, the puff cereal, etc. Now, that's my preference. In terms of, is that for everyone? Probably not. I think sometimes it's a smart idea to have some kind of easier digesting carbohydrates, the simple form of carbohydrates, with a mix of potentially some more complex, slower digesting carbohydrates in there as well, just to keep blood sugar nice and stable for a period of time post-workout, if you're someone that notices somewhat of a dip, somewhat of a crash. Which brings me on to fats. Now, in terms of fats post-workout, for the most part, there's nothing wrong with having fats there. It's just if I could situate them anywhere throughout the day, post-workout wouldn't be my preference. When or why would I look at adding fats in post-workout? Well, it might be if someone's eating only a limited number of meals throughout the day. So we're kind of bottlenecked to where we could place those fats for the most part. So it has to go somewhere, and we can't overload, X amount of meals with a huge amount of fat, because we're just going to leave ourselves in really shit territory with regards to digestion. So that would be case number one. Case number two is if someone notices that they find blood sugar kind of crashing pretty rapidly post-workout, then I'd be looking at, potentially adding a little bit of fat into that post-workout meal, along with, like I said, some complex carbohydrates mixed with the simple carbohydrates, just to slow that digestion, absorption of things down a little bit further into that post-workout window and tide us through to the following meal. Again, this post-workout depends on where you're having this meal throughout the course of the day. If it's your final meal of the day, then it's probably likely to have a little bit more of some added fat in there as well. But for the most part, we're usually going to see people 9 times out of 10 have another meal or another 2 meals kind of after training, after their post-workout meal, where we can situate a little bit more of our fats. Then in terms of like electrolytes, I think it'd be good to get some kind of potassium dense fruits involved. So anything like dates, kiwis, mangoes, bananas, obviously. I think that's a really good option, along with obviously an addition of sodium into that meal. I'm not giving numbers in terms of sodium and the rest of it, but those are the things I'd be looking at primarily there. For me, post-workout has always been something rice-based, pre and post-workout. I know some guys prefer oats. I think oats have kind of been demonized for some unknown reason. Like, you can't eat oats, they just fuck your digestion, they're a demon carb. And it's like, okay, fuck off. No, they're not. There's nothing wrong with oats. I just prefer rice-based. That's it. Now, I'm fancying some oats, but I'm a creature of habit. So that's that. I know some guys like some salmon post-workout. Again, you can have fats in your post-workout meal. It isn't an issue. Just I would usually prefer to have them situated elsewhere. But again, so much individuality with things. It's just trial and error, what works, what clicks, what has you feeling at your best. But for me, I want to get instant uptake, rapid, tide me over. And like I said, this is one of two of my more denser carbohydrate meals throughout the course of the day. That's where I need it. I'm a bodybuilder. Function, purpose. And then on top of that, hydrate yourselves. Get the goddamn fluid in. We should be relatively hydrated throughout our training sessions anyway. If you like to use an electrolyte supplement, I think that'd be a brilliant idea post-workout, like half a serving of that, along with your sodium, potassium that you're adding to your meals, and a good amount of fluid. So that'd be my post-workout. And I remember post-workout not too long ago, well, it was pretty long ago. It was a pretty aggressive off-season. It was like 200 grams of cereal. There was some sourdough in there as well. There was some jam. Soon come the glory days. But yeah, I would strongly advise people to try, I would definitely recommend like the white rice post-workout with your whey or with your lean protein source. It's usually weird for people to have it with the whey, but it honestly just digests perfectly. To me, it is just like one of those Muller rice puddings that you get from the supermarket, from Tesco's and the rest of it. So we're winning. That would be wicked with a little bit of jam in. Fantastic. Right. We'll see you for what will be meal 5. Sweet. Okie dokie, peeps. Meal numeros 5. So this is a chicken and potato meal. So we'll start the meal with our veggies. I usually have a bit more variety in terms of veg. But at the moment, I'm just keeping things super, super accurate. This is almost like, at the moment, what I'm doing and the setup that I've got, I wanted to create the prep, feel the prep environment as much as I possibly could. To the extremities of just repeating what my veg intake was throughout prep. That's what we're doing. I want to create that environment, create that feel of that type of context again, which we are doing. Hence the routine looking how it looks at the moment, and so on. Anyway, 50 grams of spinach in there, and I've got 300 grams of white potatoes, which I've peeled, and I've just put straight into the air fryer. I was about to say for a few minutes, but definitely longer than a few minutes. And they come out with a perfect crunch every time. Listen, there might be 101 different ways that people like to cook their potatoes. This is easy for me. I've got shit to do. I don't want to be faffing about spending more time on meals than is necessary. Like, look at that. How is that for a potato? Unreal. Very hot. I've got 180 grams of chicken breast. This will be my last chicken meal for the day. And this again just has the oregano on, the dry herbs. It's what I like. It's what keeps digestion ticking. I think you can, depending on your goals, listen, if you're someone who's not a competitive athlete, you can get away with some of the seasonings that are a bit more sodium rich, sodium dense, but you're just opening the door up to things starting to talk back. I find it's just the whole thing of digestion. If you've been doing this for long enough, there is an element of your gut being compromised to a certain degree, give or take, and then topping it off with the God's nectar. That'll do. Nothing crazy. So this meal, just to repeat, 50 grams of spinach, 300 grams of white potato, 180 grams of chicken breast, and a douse of the red goodness. So about 50 grams of protein, 50 gram of carb, and just trace fat, 2-3 grams of fat, if that. Well, that's us. Meal number 5, we've got another potato meal, which will be meal 6, and we'll have that in a few hours' time once Beth's home, and we usually sit down and have well, it's not usually my last meal, but have a meal together, be Beth's dinner, my final meal. So we'll see you for that one. Right, peeps, we are in for meal 6, final meal. Sod's Law, right? You canny write this. Have no beef. Oh no, what are we gonna do? We can't eat. We're gonna have to go get a Five Guys. Beth's smiling. So we're gonna do a little bit of the magic. It's not the end of the world, all right? It's not the end of the world. Listen, if I was legitimately in prep, I would be going out right now to the supermarket to get some beef. However, I'm not, and I want an opportunity to sit down with my fiance and relax. So this is what we're doing. We're improvising. We're doing some of the macro tracking. This stuff just annoys the fuck out of me though, because it's just so long. I can't be bothered to scan packets. I just want to eat, and that's it. So with that said, beef's out, and I'm going to replace it with. I'm actually going to replace it with some oats before bed. All right. So for this meal, I'm looking for about 50 gram of carb, about 50 grams of protein, and 11 grams of fat, which this meal gives me perfectly. So I've got some oats, I'm gonna have some whey isolate, I've got some honey, and I've also got some almond butter. Oh, this is actually smooth peanut butter, this one. But we're good to go. So I've got some fats in here, nice slow digesting carb source pre-bed. It's nice, haven't had oats for a while, but I see a lot of people mashing up their oats, so stay tuned. Now this is a technique I learned from, it's a sacred technique. I learned it from a Scotsman, so I know it's legit. Shout out Taylor Johnson. Right, this bit is my own doing, by the way. Some ground sweet cinnamon on the oats whilst they're dry. A nice dusting. Now, for your oats, what you want is double the amount of boiled water for the amount of oats that you've got. So this is about 124 grams of water in there. Then we'll give that a little bit of a zhuzh. If my sous chef could pass me a tablespoon. Thank you, darling. And we'll just give that a bit of a mix. We want them oats to expand. We want soft oats. I don't microwave my oats either. This is literally it. You get that nice thick consistency. So the oats are, for now, done. Are you waiting to get here? What do you need?
I'll make dinner.
Well, you can come and get in. Come on, I'm recording. Just, what do you want? I'll get it.
I don't want anything.
Right, now I've got pressure because she's just standing there staring at me, gang, so. Again, the whey isolate trick. 10 grams less isolate, 10 grams less water than the amount of isolate that you put in. So this is 50 grams of isolate. That goes there. We'll make this into a little bit of a zhuzh. You can call it sludge, you call it paste. If you're a child, I just call it protein powder with water. Grown men calling it a whey paste. You gotta love it. Anyway, that will set to one side. Now we'll do our, oh, she don't want to come off, our 10 grams of nut butter. So everything on the scales zeroed. The most accurate way to do everything. 10 grams. And then that way I know, oh, it says 11. No, it says 9. Fucking hell, now it says 11. Right, now it says 10. Now I know whatever's on the spoon. Can just get the old... Mwah. So we're there. And then we've got onto the top of this 15 grams of honey. That's done. And then we'll pour this onto here. This is how you make oats. So all of my clients that are sending me absolute monstrosities, yes, Lee Haywood, I'm talking to you. Motherfucker was just pouring almond milk into dry oats and a scoop of protein powder and eating it. Yeah, let's not do that, because we don't want to make it an absolute nightmare to digest. And that's us. And that also wraps up our full day of eating. I have got my evening supplements that I'll take with this as well, but I'll save that for another time because I've got an angry fiance that needs to get into the kitchen. So I will put up total macros, protein, carbs, fats for today. I'll also try and put a breakdown for each meal as well. So this is where we're at, training day, week 6 of the reset diet phase. Insightful, hopefully a little bit of an idea for some things, but this is us, some pre-bed oats. I'm actually going to put them into the freezer for a bit because I like my oats cold. So yeah, as always, thank you for watching. Much appreciated. Much love to everyone. Support, follow, subscribe, all that jazz. And I'll see you shortly.